Hello, guys. Welcome to yourwealthyjourney.com. It's where we interview successful entrepreneurs. We want to learn from them, their success stories, maybe some of their struggles also. My name is Joseph Simeon Deonaraine, and I will host an interview today with the awesome RJ Hodges.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. Um,
Definitely.
who is RJ? RJ is a professional speaker. He's a certified personal mastery life coach. He's a certified practitioner of the healing art of Reiki. I hope I said that right.
Right. Yeah. No, everybody messes us up, so it really doesn't matter. But that's just fine. No.
Okay, okay. And he's the best-selling co-author of the book Mission Unstoppable. Um, he partnered together with world-renowned leaders such as George Fraser and Les Brown. I
Hmm.
think many people have to know Les Brown.
Yeah.
And he's the author of the book called You Can't Practice at the Game, The Art of Mastering You. Do you want to
Hmm.
add anything about yourself, RJ?
The only thing that may not have been in there is that I am also a business development coach, which
Oh, yeah.
is
Okay.
something that I get an opportunity to do every single day, which I absolutely love.
Okay, great, great.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll dive into the questions. And
Okay. Sounds good.
our first question is, what does wealth means to you, RJ? Uh,
You know, when I think about wealth, I more so think about freedom and I think about choices.
okay.
I know a lot of times when we say wealth, we only think about money.
Yeah, yeah,
But I feel like money it's a part of wealth. It's not the entire thing because I would never want to have an abundance of money without an abundance of health
yeah,
or an abundance of great relationships or any of those components of our lives that really make us thrive, those things that really cause us to smile and be really happy and fulfilled every single day.
yeah,
So when that term wealth comes in my mind, I think of the entire piece of the pie, your happiness, your spiritual health, your physical health, your emotional health, your relationships. I also think about the money as well because I think all of those things, they coincide, they all go together. So and I think when you get all of those things working and thriving at the same time and at the same pace, you really understand that wealth is just happiness.
okay,
Wealth is that feeling of joy and that feeling of unconditional fulfillment. So when I think about wealth, that's what I think about.
okay, great, great. We didn't learn more about you, but what we want to do is tell us a little bit of yourself. What do you do? What's your business about? What's your story? Where do you come from? Or
Where do I come from? I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. And I grew up south of the city in a little small area called East Point, Georgia. And growing up in East Point, it was kind of the same for all of us. My father passed away when I was 8 years old. My mom raised me by herself. And, I just saw a lot of stuff growing up. I saw people kind of struggling, people doing their best to just make it, from day to day. And I just always told myself, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to struggle. Nobody wants to struggle, but being that it was in my face, I just didn't want to. I wanted to live a life of, like we just said, that life of freedom and that life of choices. But I didn't know what to do because I always say growing up, I didn't really excel at anything. I wasn't that kid. A lot of friends of mine, they were great at sports, or, they had something they could draw, they could do something that could identify what their talent was. I never could find that thing. I just, kind of went to school like everybody else and I did pretty good in school. But, there was nothing about me, in my opinion, that just stood out that said, this is your path and this is your thing. And speed this story up, but I graduated from high school, bumped into a group of gentlemen that were business owners, and they introduced me to the network marketing industry.
okay,
And everything in my life changed from that point because introducing me to business was like putting a basketball in Michael Jordan's hands. You know, you put a basketball in Michael Jordan's hands,
Shoot.
he's gonna shoot it and he's gonna become a 6-time champion, so forth and so on. Well, putting business in my hand, that was it. That was a light switch. That's when everything started to click. Is that I want to build businesses. And then the second thing happened was during that network marketing business, I got put in the front of the room to start doing presentations.
Okay.
And somewhere in doing those presentations, I also learned that I wanted to be an inspirational speaker. I wanted to not just inspire people, but talk to them about this life that I had seen so far and how I had just bumped into a new life that was totally different. Because the life I came from in East Point was us, you know, trying to make ends meet, you know, trying to make sure every day we could pay bills. And when I bumped into these business people, I bumped into a life and a lifestyle that was not that. I bumped into people that were living abundantly. They weren't worried about anything. They weren't sad. They were happy. They were the definition of what I just gave you for wealth.
Okay.
And it blew me away because I hadn't really seen that growing up. So I now had this passion about telling people, especially people that came from where I came from, there's a whole different life out here. And it doesn't matter where we came from, we can get a piece of this. So, you know, I got excited about being an inspirational speaker, and that slowly transitioned into me doing personal development, life coaching. And then it transitioned into me doing business coaching. And that's where I've been.
Okay. And like, okay, so actually you already answered my next
Okay.
question. Like how did the business idea come about? Um, yeah. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, and it came about through that network marketing venture. I learned so much during that time. And then somewhere in the midst of that, I learned that I didn't want to do network marketing anymore. I didn't want to market goods and services or anything like that. I strictly wanted to help and inspire people.
okay.
You know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I was also in a network marketing company, and
Okay.
there's where my mind. I
Mm-hmm.
also had a self-defeating mindset, but there's where I came into the I got to know about the world of personal development,
Right.
and it opened up my mind big. And since then, I always had a desire to have my own businesses. So this is just the start of it, man.
Right. Yeah, most definitely, man. And I applaud what you're doing. I mean, you know, the one thing I can say about network marketing is it changes everything about your mind, because you cannot, if you're in a great network marketing company among great people,
Yeah.
you cannot be there and not personally develop, you know, because that was the first time that people put certain books in my hand. They put the Think and Grow Rich and the, you know, all of the Napoleon Hill books, and they put the, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People. They put all of these books in my hands that prior to that I had never heard of before.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and reading those type of things, it just changed me. It changed everything about how I saw life. And I always say that at the moment you start to see life differently, you can have whatever you see.
Okay.
You know, so I started to see life differently, and it just kind of blossomed from there. But after a while, I didn't want to do network marketing anymore, and that's where the whole business idea of starting to become an inspirational speaker and starting to become a coach, that's where that all came into play.
Okay. And how long did it take you to transform that idea into reality? Like,
Honestly, for it to become a reality was instant. You know, from the moment you make a decision, it's a reality, in my opinion. So from the moment I decided no more network marketing, I'm going to be a speaker and I'm going to be a coach, that was instant. Now, how long did it take for me to make it really work? That's a different story. But, you know, it was instant for me to actually get it going. I came up with an idea. I started a speaking company called Born to Win at that particular time. And myself and another business partner that was in network marketing with me, a young lady by the name of Monique Fluker, we partnered up together and we started Born to Win because we both had the same level of passion for speaking and inspiring and stuff like that. So we just kind of hit the ground running. We didn't know much, but we were excited and we went forward.
Yeah, you have to make a start anyhow.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. Most definitely.
Okay. And what was your biggest struggle in starting this business, getting it up and running and successful?
Probably what I just said. Me and her, we did not know the industry. We didn't know anything about being an inspirational speaker. We didn't know how to build a speaking company. We didn't know anything. We just knew that this is what our heart wanted to do. So the biggest struggle was we didn't know. And we didn't know that we needed to get help.
Okay.
So we just went at it on our own. We were out here, trying and building and doing a bunch of stuff that probably was unnecessary and not doing the things that were necessary. And we just didn't know, So my biggest struggle, and I'm sure she would attest to this, our biggest struggle at that time was the lack of knowledge and the lack of knowing how to execute, But the biggest thing was not knowing that we needed to go find an expert. We needed to go find a coach or a teacher or a mentor or somebody that was an expert in this particular industry that could lead us down the right path. And we kind of spin our wheels for a while before we figured that out.
Okay, so what did you guys do when you figure that out, that you guys needed a coach to overcome that struggle? And
we knew it was time to get somebody. We knew it was time to get some mentors. We knew it was time to invest in what we were doing. And, that's usually that time where most people, they say, well, I don't have the money. I don't have the money to hire a coach, or I don't have the money to, invest in a program, or whatever the case may be. And I always say that if you can't afford it, you can't afford not to. Because we wasted probably a lot of time not doing that. And eventually how we overcame it was we just put our pennies together, and we said, you know what, no matter what we have to do, no matter what we have to sacrifice, we got to make it happen. And we would, we found a mentor, a great guy up in North Carolina, which is from Atlanta. It's probably a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here. Okay. So we would figure out when he had a moment and whatever we had to do, and we would scrape our money together, and we would go up to North Carolina just to get information. And this guy was a big deal, still is a big deal. Up there, huge office. He had employees. He was speaking all over the country, so we would just go up there and just kind of sit and just try to figure out, what are you doing? But today I understand that nothing changed until we figured out how to overcome the whole don't want to make an investment, don't want to spend any money, feeling like we didn't have any money to spend, and actually get the expert. Because if not, you're kind of going at everything from a blind perspective.
Yeah, right. And how long did it take you after you guys got the expert to help you? How long did it take you to earn your first dollar, or were you guys making the money already when you guys like?
No, not at first. Not at first. I want to say maybe a few months or so, after us really understanding the information and understanding how to actually thrive in this industry. A few months or so later, I remember booking my very first paid speaking engagement. It's a story I'll never forget a day in my life, because, we were promoting ourselves. We were putting ourselves out there and telling people what we did. Nobody just was, and people were actually telling us to come speak, and we were speaking at places. It's just that nobody had any money to pay us, and that day that I got a call from somebody that was an associate, I didn't even know her that well, and she said, hey, we're having a program. I think it was a program at a school or a university or something like that. And she said, do you still do inspirational speaking? And I said, yeah, of course. And she said, well, we want you to come speak. And she said, we only have this amount in our budget. And I think it was, I don't know, $1,000 or something like that, which I ain't never got paid before for doing this. So she's like, we only have this in our budget. I don't know if that works for you. And of course you got to play it off. You can't come across like I've never gotten paid for this before. So I pondered for like a half a second. I said, well, for you, I'll do it, and that was the first time that our company got some money for doing that. But it wasn't the last, thankfully. Okay. Definitely wasn't the last.
So I bet that was one of the happiest days of your life.
Absolutely, because something that you love to do anyway, that you've kind of put yourself on the line for, that you said that I'm going to do this, and you've told people. It's okay when you have a vision that you're keeping to yourself, but it's something about when you go publicize it and you tell people, something about that, you have to kind of back that up at some point. You can't keep telling people I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and there is no proof. You know what I mean? There's no proof that it's really happening and working. So to get that first paid speaking engagement, it was amazing, because not only was it a way that we made some income, but I think it solidified to us that we're on the right path.
Okay.
You know, this is really going to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, man. The next question. You know, there are many young people that are starting or are going into the they want to become their own entrepreneurs, and put it that way. What would you advise these youngsters or whoever they are? What would you advise them to do, or how much hours would you advise them to work on their business every day?
I'm gonna break that up into two answers. The first thing is, I would advise anybody that's going into business to first and foremost search your soul. And what I mean by search your soul, what is it that you really want to do? Who do you really want to help? What are you passionate about doing? Don't just jump into something because it proves that it's going to make money. And that's what a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs do today. Either they, buy somebody's program online that guarantees to make you X amount of dollars in the next, how many ever days, and whatever it is that they're doing, they have no passion about it. They could care less about it. And it really doesn't work out it doesn't work out for them. Or they start a business based on what they think the marketplace needs and wants. And a lot of time that doesn't work out. So my first thing is, find out what you're good at. Find out what you're passionate about and pursue that. My favorite quote, and I need to remember whose quote it is, but it says, there are many things in life that will catch your eye, but only a few that will capture your heart. Pursue those. Okay. So pursue the things that capture your heart versus the things that just catch your eye. There's a ton of things out here that will catch your eye. And once you find that thing, I wouldn't give a set amount of hours per day or per week that you need to work on your business. But I will say, if you're working a full-time job and you're starting a part-time business, you need to figure out a way to look at the gaps in your day. 15-minute break in the morning at your job, the lunch break where you don't have to spend an entire hour eating, and the 15-minute break in the afternoon, and whatever little gaps that you may have in between your day. You got to figure out how to work in tasks for your business during those gaps. Where most aspiring entrepreneurs, where they miss it at, is they work a full-time job, and those little gaps of time, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they don't do anything in those gaps during the day. And they give all of their energy to the job, and they drive home, and then the mindset is, now I'm going to start working on my part-time business. But that rarely happens the way it should, because you're tired at this point. Yeah. Your energy level is extremely low at that point. And now you're up to 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, dozing off on laptops, and you say you're building a business, but you're really not. You're spinning your wheels. So I always tell aspiring entrepreneurs and part-time entrepreneurs, make sure that you're taking advantage of those time gaps within your day.
Okay. Great advice, man. Great advice. Okay, we'll go to the next round. It's called the lightning round or the fun round.
Okay, cool.
What's the best book you've ever read and why?
Oh man, I hate these questions because I gotta choose. Can I do two?
Okay, man.
Two, cool. I cheat a lot. I cheat on these questions a lot because, man, definitely Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich is great. I love his Napoleon Hill's Laws of Success Complete, because it has all of his laws in one book. Probably the greatest thing that I ever read, and I don't understand how any entrepreneur can survive without reading that. That is a serious statement. The other one is called The Game of Life and How to Play It, by a woman by the name of Florence Scovel Shinn. It's not a big book, but it really dives into your conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind, which to me, to be an entrepreneur or to be somebody that's going to create wealth in all facets of your life, it is a thinking game. You got to do some stuff, but it's a thinking game. It's a strategy game. And those books break down those intangibles. It breaks down those internal strategies that most people just don't pay attention to. So I would do those two: Napoleon Hill's Law of Success Complete and The Game of Life and How to Play It.
Okay, great books, by the way.
Yeah.
What's a daily habit of yours that contribute to your success? What are you?
Man, two things again. Try to do one, but it won't be complete without the other. One is meditation. I definitely believe that you have to turn off outside stimuli at some point.
Yes.
You know, we live in a world where social media is rampant and we get information just from everywhere. You know, it comes in, you know, in abundance, but you need to turn that off at some point, because I believe that the spirit within, or your innate intelligence, or whatever you want to call it, I believe that it's always speaking.
Yeah.
I believe also we're not always hearing because we're cluttered. We have so much other information going on. So I meditate every day. The second part about that, and meditation, let me say this: it doesn't have to be for 4 hours. It doesn't have to be for 2 hours. You can meditate for 20 minutes. You can meditate for 10 minutes. Start somewhere.
Okay.
You know, because people go, oh my God, I can't do that. Just turn off your phone, turn off everything that's feeding you, and sit quietly. You know, get in tune with you. That's really, in my opinion, all meditation is. The second thing is that I take in information every single day that's in line with what I want and what I believe. I always tell clients and people that I work with, there is no way for you to become one thing and take in information that's contrary to that. You know, so if you're trying to produce in a business, or you're trying to build a business, but all the information you take in every day is the economy's messed up, it's hard, entrepreneurship is hard, most people don't make it, there's no way you're going to produce that end result that you want with that information. So I take in purposely an abundance of information that supports everything that I want.
Okay, great, man.
Two things.
Okay, great habit. And who are your top 3 role models?
Ooh, top 3. I get 3 this time. Let's see.
Yeah.
Top 3 role models. People that I've learned from, the most from a it's a ton of people, but people that I've learned from the most from a business aspect. I've learned a lot from Tony Robbins.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course. I've learned a lot by watching Oprah.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people watch Oprah from a different perspective than me and some of my friends and business people have watched Oprah. She is probably one of the most strategic people ever. She moves in a certain way that's just, you got to look at her moves. They're business-wise, they're incredible. So I've learned a lot from watching Oprah. And while there's a lot more, I'm going to say my mother.
Okay.
And I don't think I've ever said that in a podcast, or anywhere publicly, but I'll say my mother, because everything about how I think and how I move in a certain way, it all comes from her. Okay. You know, she was a very strategic person in the sense of, before she stepped, she thought it all the way through, or, you know, she was always 10 steps ahead of the next move. It was like she played chess without playing chess. And I don't even know, my mother passed away, so I don't know if she knew that's what she was doing. I don't know if it was just a natural thing. I never, unfortunately, had the opportunity to have that conversation with her. And it wasn't until recently, within the last 4 or 5 years, that I was able to look at myself and how I operate and how I move and how I think and how I deal with people. And I looked and said, I know exactly where that comes from. You know, yeah, you know, so, you know, her influence in that way, it has molded a lot about me, kind of unconsciously, because I never would have really seen it. I never really known that it was there, but that's where that comes from. Yeah.
Okay, great, man. Okay, the next question, it's not really business related.
Okay.
Maybe in your personal life.
Okay.
What's the best entertainment movie you watched so far?
Oh, man.
Just one.
Just one. Oh,
or
two. No, just playing. I'll give you one. I'm just going with what popped in my head. I have a lot of entertaining movies. Coming to America, which is probably the funniest movie ever for me. But there's another movie called Boiler Room. Boiler Room is an older movie. It has, I think his name is Giovanni Ribisi. I want to say that's his name. It has Vin Diesel is in it, actually, or like a young Vin Diesel. It's an older movie. Neil Long is in it. And it's a movie about them trading stock. It's a crazy movie, but it's an excellent movie. So somewhere between Coming to America and Boiler Room would be up toward my top two.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never saw those, by the way.
You gotta watch. If you don't do anything else, you gotta watch Boiler Room. You might gotta go watch Boiler Room today, especially if you're of the entrepreneur mindset. You gotta watch Boiler Room.
Boiler Rooms.
Boiler Room. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Don't ask me to spell. I'm a word spell check guy, so I don't want to spell on camera. It might mess up my life.
We'll check it out on Google.
Yeah.
The next question is, let's say one day you woke up and you had no money in your bank account, no money in your wallet. You only had food, shelter, a laptop, and internet. What would you do in the next 30 days to earn $1,000?
Okay, no problem. First and foremost, I would ask myself, what skill do I have? Okay. How can I add value, and who can I add value to? That's key. Because if you can add value to somebody, you're worth money, point blank, without a doubt. And once I figured out who and what value I could add, I got the internet. I would go on the internet and I would relentlessly target those people, telling them very specifically, with no doubt about it, of how I could add value to their lives and how much it'll cost for me to do it. And I guarantee I could make $1,000 in less than 30 days, because we only pay for things that we deem valuable. That's society. That's who we are as people. So if you can find out, what type of value you can add, what credibility you have, what you're good at, and who needs that, you can always create income.
Okay, great, man.
Yeah.
We have two more questions.
Okay.
We're closing off right now.
Okay.
What's your parting piece of advice to our audience? What advice do you want to leave people with today?
My biggest thing to people is master yourself. The subtitle of one of my books is called The Art of Mastering You. And mastering you is everything about what I talk about. I tell people, don't just focus alone on the external principles. Make sure that you're taking advantage of the internal principles. There's a lot of external principles out here: the 5 steps to get wealth in the next 60 days, the 10 steps of how to, build a multi-million-dollar business, and all of that stuff is great. But I always say an external principle is only as good as the person or the spirit that it comes into contact with. So my advice to people is start reading. Start finding out who you are. Start finding out what your shortcomings are. Start finding out what your fears are, so that you can overcome those things. Because no matter what you get principle-wise externally, those internal things, your fears, your hindrances, your procrastination, your shortcomings, your, bad exposure to wrong information, those are the things that will choke the life, not only of your business, but of you. So you got to master yourself. You got to personally develop every single day.
Okay, great, man. And how can we connect with you?
It is RJHodgesSpeaks, RJHodgesSpeaks.com, RJ Hodges Speaks pretty much on all social media. And I also have what do I want to call it? A group on Facebook, which is for aspiring entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, called Superior Entrepreneurs. So if you guys are interested in that, you can request to join that group. But I am at RJ Hodges Speaks on everything.
Okay, great, people. You've heard it. It was great interviewing you, RJ. We got plenty of value out of this.
Good deal.
And people take action upon what you've heard. You don't have to be great to get started, as Les Brown said, but you have to start to become great. So that was it. Thank you for the interview, man.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, okay. Hey guys, I hope that you have gotten ton of value from this interview. I have a free gift for you guys, and you can check that out in the link below. It will be marked free gift. So of their life. So check out the link below and start your wealthy journey right now, today. Bye, guys.